Today I'm going to talk a bit about DIY home security solutions. I'm Blake, professional innovator and designer in pursuit of the invisible smart home.
Water leak alert.
But before I get to that, I wanted to talk a bit about professional home security systems and how they work, and the proprietary, they're both proprietary, but proprietary DIY home security systems, which are both different than what I would say an open DIY smart home security system. But before I get to the different security system types and options, I just wanted to talk about home security in general. I feel the best solution really is preventative. First, keep your doors locked. That's important. Starting point. If you have a yard with a fence, have a gated yard, you should keep the gate locked. So the best solution is good lighting. You should just have good lighting. You should keep your porch lights on at night and your back deck lights on at night. And other dark areas of the yard, you should have motion lights that come on if there's any motion. That's a good preventative option. If you're a bad guy, you're approaching a home, a light comes on, you're going to maybe reconsider and go to the next house that doesn't have good lighting. Let's talk about professional alarm systems. I have one, an alarm.com system. Basically, there's a digital panel by the front door. Type in a code when you are departing or a code when you arrive to set and turn off the alarm system. There's door sensors or contact sensors. There's some motion sensors, and in my case, I have the fire alarm or the smoke alarm sensor. So I don't feel this system is particularly effective on its own in preventing crime. It's a monitored system. I mostly have it because the insurance company forces us to have it. And their business model is all about the monthly fee. So that's the professional system. Let's talk a bit about, and that's proprietary. Although many of them are based on Z-Wave, and you can add, in some cases, add third-party devices. None of them work so far, as I can see, directly with our Bulldog Valve to shut off the water, which would be a good option. And even the ones that do support Z-Wave, they don't really support it properly. Either it's difficult to add a third-party Z-Wave device if you want to add your own leak sensors, as an example, or when you add them, you can't really include them with the automation, so they don't work as expected. So let's talk a bit about DIY proprietary systems like Simply Save or Ring. So those systems are probably a better solution for a DIYer than the professional solution. But again, they have the same problem where it doesn't really support third-party devices, so you get the basics of a security system, and for many people it'll solve the problem. But I think the best solution is what I'm going to talk about now in detail, is your own home DIY solution. It's much more flexible and expandable, and I'll talk about how I've set that up now. So my smart home DIY security system kind of starts with the SmartThings Aeotec hub, and mostly Z-Wave, Zigbee, and Matter devices and switches and sensors, with a separate system of cameras. I've been trying for a number of years to figure out how to integrate cameras into the SmartThings hub and other hubs, and some cameras will integrate with it, but mostly just to display the camera. It would be nice if eventually someone figures out how to make a camera act like a motion sensor in SmartThings and allow SmartThings to trigger a video, or other hubs. At this point, I haven't managed to figure out how to do that. If you know, send me a comment. That would be great. So I use contact sensors for doors on the main level, and I throw a few motion sensors on the different levels to cover windows and other security. I've set up a kind of a 3-tier or 3 alert colors that I call yellow, orange, and red alerts. So yellow alerts are just something I want to know if somebody arrives on the porch. I don't have to take any action. Orange alerts is more for something like I left the garage door open, I want to know that, but it's not an emergency and I do need to take some action. Then of course red alerts are though in the middle of the night or I'm away and somebody's breaking into the house. That's a red alert and I want to know about that, and I would take different actions for circumstances like that. So let me just show you some of the devices and the way I've set them up. Alright, so I have contact sensors on all doors that allow access to the house, including the garage doors. I have motion sensors on all 3 levels just to kind of cover the windows, and I use them for the yellow and orange alerts as well necessary. This happens to be one that came with my thermostat that doubles as a temperature sensor. For the smoke alert or fire alarm, that's the standard smoke alert wired into the house on the left there, but that device on the right is a Z-Wave device that listens to the original smoke detector, and if the original smoke detector goes off, that Z-Wave device notifies my system and I can take appropriate action there. I have 2 or 3 of these smart plugs around the house that I've added a light to that I use for mostly yellow, but some orange alerts. This one happens to be a Zigbee device that I can turn off and on based on my other sensors, what's going on. I also have a dozen or so puck style leak sensors around the house in leak sensitive locations like toilets, under sinks, dishwasher, laundry room, etc. And including a leak sensor by the sump pump that's integrated with my or the EcoNet Bulldog Valve to shut off the water in case of a leak. I've been playing around with this flume device, but that's not that measures water flow, but that's not integrated to my security system just yet. But what I find most useful is the motion sensors and cameras I have outdoors in terms of the added value, in terms of home security, mostly for yellow and orange alerts. I've added electrical plugs in all 4 corners of the house to add the convenience, and each of those corners I put a camera and a Z-Wave plug and a security light. And I'll also position a motion sensor close somewhere so that I can decide when to turn on that security light from motion or otherwise. As an example, I might turn on all the lights if I just get motion in the back, or I might even do it for a convenience sake if I'm coming out this back door at night just to give me some lighting, but also for security sense. You can see there's an electrical plug up there that I've wired, and what's cool, the Z-Wave plug of course lets me turn on that cheap garden light and use it as a security light. It's just a waterproof garden light with a small cord on it that I plug in there, and I can turn that off and on as required to give a sense of security and discourage any late night prowlers. Here's another corner with a smart plug in the eaves, and I think I've mentioned this before, but I found that you can use outdoor cameras, indoor cameras outdoors, as long as they're covered from rain and snow. They seem to survive quite well. And that camera up there, I'll talk a bit about later, but that's just an inexpensive $30 camera that has very good features and specifications, and it works out well. On the porch here I have 2 motion sensors, and I also have a camera over there, but the 2 motion sensors allow me to tell the difference between somebody arriving and somebody leaving, and that comes in handy. And here's one more corner with a similar camera and a smart plug. I don't have a security light here because that's kind of covered around the corner, but I could add a security light there. And this kind of covers my driveway and front of the garage, and I'm considering adding some subtle driveway sensors so I know when cars arrive and leave, and adding that to the system. What's most useful to me are really the yellow and orange alerts. Fortunately, I haven't really had to be concerned with a red alert, but between the cameras and the motion sensors and the door sensors, The yellow and orange alerts kind of give me a sense of what's going on in my home. I know if I've left the garage door open. I know when somebody's come up to the house. If I'm away, I can check the cameras and get a history of people arriving in the driveway and or on the front porch, or really any corner of the house. That's the most valuable. I get notifications if there's any leak issues, but you should just turn off your water if you're away for an extended period, and my system will automatically turn off the water. The smoke alarm kind of came in handy, although there wasn't a fire. I had someone here doing some work, and they were making so much dust that the smoke alarm went off, but I just called him and said, hey, what's going on? And he said, yeah, I've reset the alarm, it was just the dust. So it's kind of a cool setup. Let me talk a bit about the cameras. This isn't one of the cameras, but similar to this. But they were the, I think I did a short review on these before, the TP-Link Tapo cameras. I am using the C110, I believe, which is like a $30 camera with 2K resolution, which is good, plenty good enough. And it has AI feature, so it can tell the difference between a human and anything else. So you set it for human notification and you don't get too many alerts. So as another example, I can check the history of the door opening or the garage door opening, and then just go check the camera to make sure it was the painter that was supposed to show up. And otherwise, if I'm away for an extended period and I get a package delivered, I can easily check that it was delivered, and if it's still on the porch, and maybe call a neighbor, ask them to pick it up. So in conclusion, should you be using a professional alarm system or a proprietary DIY system like Ring or Simply Safe, or should you be doing your own DIY system, from scratch, kind of? You can do a DIY system based on the Simply Safe or Alarm.com, but you won't get the flexibility of adding other cool devices, or at least not easily. As an example, you won't be able to add the Bulldog Valve with automatic shut off. In most of these cases, it's very difficult. They make it difficult, because they're trying to control their environment. Same with professional systems. Professional systems with the monitoring is good. You can get monitoring for the alarm system, the SmartThings environment if you want to. In most cases, I'm not really clear on if that really adds value, because you're going to get notification anyway, and you can always put more people on the list to get notification if there's a security issue. And that's exactly what the monitoring system does anyway. They just call you and say, should we call the alarm? I guess in an extreme circumstance, the police would show up if you didn't respond, and that could be valuable as well. In my case, the professional system's not for me, even though I have one. the proprietary DIY system is not for me, even though I have one of those at my office. The best system, really, if you're into a little bit of DIY, is to do your own system, and you could really add a lot more value to it than you could otherwise. And that's it. So give me a thumbs up and subscribe and look for my next video. Cheers.